Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bio, the recap. Today I am recapping Monday's episode, which was with Matt Jones talking all about his experience on Dragon's Den. So Dragon's Den, I am sure for most of the listeners, especially those in the UK, will know that it is one of the main business shows that is on BBC One, and it's a good one. It's been going for quite a long time now. It's had various lineups, although I think some of the dragons have been there. Have they all been there? So some of them been there since the start. Maybe Peter Jones, Deborah Meaden, they've definitely been there the longest. I'd have to go back and check and see if either of those have been there from the start. But yeah, always a bit of a revolving door with different business titans on the show. But a show that we all know, and if you run a business, you'll probably be particularly interested in keeping up to date with it. I like it because every season there's someone I know that goes on it, and it's always really fun to see people that you know on TV, isn't it? And it's airing right now on BBC One on Thursday. So I thought, what a great time to get my old mucker, Matt Jones, on to talk about his experience of being on the show a few years back. So we were chatting about how that came about. So Matt was actually approached to go on the show rather than applying for it, but still had to go through quite a comprehensive selection process to actually get onto the show himself. So really interesting to hear about what that process looks like, some of his tips for getting through that process and how it felt and what it was like meeting those dragons. I mean, who knew that 2 hours and 11 minutes of footage then gets reduced down to only 10 or 11 minutes. It's wild how they do it, but it was really interesting to hear some of those behind the scenes thing. And another top little snippet that came out after we stopped recording Monday's episode was Matt told me that the lift, the famous lift, doesn't actually go up or down. So I don't know whether that even is a lift. Maybe it's just a room or a bit of a set that is set up to be staged to look like a lift. So that was a little snippet that didn't quite make it into the show on Monday. So there we go. We also spoke about what happened to Matt's business that he had at the time, a men's skincare brand, in terms of sales once the show aired, about how he got his investment and how it panned out after the show itself. One of Matt's top tips was to really know your numbers and to make sure that all the stats that you're quoting are very accurate, because you're going to get found out if you're applying to Dragon's Den and you don't know your numbers, or you're saying something's organic and it's not. Those sorts of things are all going to get picked up on and pulled apart, as we have all seen countless times on the show when we have been watching. A key part of these recap episodes is centered around taking action. I'm a big fan of not just consuming content, but using it to go and do something. And this week's Take Action is something that might be a little bit personal to me, actually, but I'm sure most people can relate in some capacity, especially if you own a business. So one of my development areas, I won't say weaknesses, but definitely development areas, is that I don't always have an accurate, up-to-date grip on the numbers within my business. I know if we're doing okay. I know if there's problems. I know if we can spend money on things. But if someone was to ask me right now, what did you turn over last year? What was the gross profit? What was the net profit? How many clients do you have? All these different things. I'd have to go away and look it all up. And these are the kinds of things that really should be on the tip of my tongue. Now, to mitigate that to a certain point and to develop my own knowledge, we have actually hired a fractional CFO in Tamoja, which is proving to be a real success so far, and definitely something I would recommend to small and scaling businesses to have that expertise in-house. But my take action is going to be to create a little crib sheet around important and useful stats to have to hand. So for me, this is just going to be one page in the back of one of my notebooks, and it is going to cover an overview of different stats. So it's going to have the stats for the last financial year. It's going to have where we're at for the current financial year. And I'm committing to updating that on a monthly basis when our management accounts come through, so that if I ever did happen to have a chance conversation with someone, perhaps an investor who I'd be really keen to work with to join the business, for example, or just a meaty business conversation, or even to impress the CFO that I am taking in these things and I am developing and learning in this area. Other things that I might put in my crib sheet are going to be things that I measure so that I can actually see a bit of a development in progress. So for me, that is going to be probably a couple of social media platforms where I'm focusing some of my energies at the moment. So I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, as I've spoken about many times on this show. And I also have a bit of a crush on Instagram. I still don't fully understand it. And actually, I would love to get someone on the show that really does understand it, because I would love to learn from them. But it is something that I am trying to grow and trying to get a bit more intentional on. So I will probably have some numbers in the back that relate to both of those platforms, just so that I can track things, have the numbers to hand, and be focused on those going forward. So that is going to be my take action for this week. You might want to tweak that to suit things that you are prioritizing in your own business or career. And yeah, do it. And let me know, as always, how you get on. See you next time.